Okay, so welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Um, Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Solomon. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, both in California and New York. I, why am I qualified to teach these skills? Well, I, again, two reasons. One, I came by the idea of acceptance honestly in my life. At a young age, I had to learn to let go of trying to be in control. And I found support for that in 12-step rooms for loved ones of people who struggle with addiction. And so it was in those rooms that I learned the Serenity Prayer and I learned about the idea of letting go. And that was my first introduction into the idea of acceptance and the power of it. And it was really liberating for me. And I was so, so, so grateful. But it wasn't until years later I got trained after becoming a therapist and working in the field of addiction that I got trained in dialectical behavioral therapy, which was created by Marsha Linehan and has its roots in Zen Buddhism. And she found that the concepts of Zen Buddhism were paramount in order for people to tolerate difficult emotions and to create change in their lives. And so she brought in radical acceptance in a skill format so that people could learn just how to do that. And so I've been teaching these skills for almost 15 years now. They're in my bones, and I'm really excited to teach you all today. The group chat is on. So if questions come up, please don't hesitate to throw them out there or, share a thought. I'm not the best multitasker, so we'll see how I do with responding to questions. My intention is to answer every question. I guess it'll depend on timing and, if I know that something else is coming down the line, but at the end, I'll definitely be answering any questions. And if any of you have anything, technical issues, just put it in the chat. I don't have like a VA helping me or anything. Okay, let's get started. So, what is radical acceptance? Radical means all the way, complete, total, in its entirety. So when you're really accepting something, you're not just accepting part of it or kind of going halfway with it. The idea is I'm willing to accept something entirely, which is easier said than done. It is accepting in your mind, it is accepting in your heart, and it is accepting in your body, which is a choice that we make over and over again. Radical acceptance is when you stop fighting reality, you let go of bitterness, you you let go of fear, or you actively try to fear less, and you try to embrace love. You try to love more. So, what exactly are we accepting? Well, there's a wide range of things that we can accept, right? Anything from physical or chronic pain to, existential, like the state of the world, to emotional pain, to, the like person on the subway making an annoying sound. Right? There are a lot of things that we can practice accepting, and the spectrum of them is pretty wide. But at its core, what are we accepting? We're accepting reality. We're accepting the state of things as they are, the facts about the past, the present, and accepting them is not liking them. It's just accepting them, which we're going to talk more about. We're also accepting that there are limitations for everyone. We all have limitations and others have limitations too. But only realistic limitations need to be accepted. So we're staying in reality, both in our, when we notice we're in a fantasy about how things should be, we're coming back to the reality of that and the limitations. And when we notice that we're in deep, um, disappointment and shame, we're coming back to the reality of our own limitations and working on accepting that. We're also accepting that everything has a cause. This includes events and situations that cause you pain and suffering. And what I mean by this is that um, the thing that's happening in this moment that one may be struggling to accept, that may feel really, really difficult, is did not just occur from that moment. It had hundreds, probably millions of moments that led up to that. This is why the figure eight, this idea of the continuum, is so universally powerful and comforting for people because we are all on it. Everything is connected. And when something causes us pain and suffering, it is natural to not want to accept that and to point to that exact moment for trying to change it or deny it. But it has a lot of moments that led up to it. You may already in this moment be like, oh man, why'd I sign up for this? This is heavy. Radical acceptance is heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. It is also such a relief when you actually get it in your body, when you actually can practice it. It is such a relief. But when I say practice, I really do mean practice. It's a life practice. Nobody arrives at acceptance and stays there. It's something that we keep coming back to over and over again. The pain, the disappointment, the way that we wish things were, but they're not. It's a practice that we keep coming back to. And the hope, the goal with this practice is that it gets easier and easier and easier with time. And that has to do with our willingness to and us not, getting in our own way. But when I tell you that I really understand how difficult it is and that it's not easy, I mean it. Um, so there's no expectation that you'll go like, oh yeah, got it. We're good. So I really love teaching this part. So these are acceptance equations. All right. I'm not a mathematician by any means, but these equations have always made sense to me. And these, again, are rooted in Zen Buddhism. So life equals unavoidable pain, inevitable pain. It doesn't matter who you are or how you are in your life, you're going to experience pain, be it emotional, spiritual, psychological, physical pain. You can be a superhuman, you can be a saint, and there's nothing to say that you aren't going to stub your toe and it's going to hurt really badly, or that you're not going to feel rejected or disappointed or experience grief. It's inevitable, it's baked into life. So pain can't be avoided. And it's always helpful to remember that pain is nature's way of signaling that something's wrong. It's actually really important and good for us to feel pain, even though we don't like it. And this is the big one. This is where radical acceptance feels often the hardest for people. We are not in control, usually. We're often not in control of painful events. Okay, so that's equation number one. The pain is unavoidable and we're not in control of it for the most part. Suffering is different and suffering is optional. So suffering is when we refuse to accept the reality of the pain. Like we're trying to avoid the pain. And in doing that, we go into some misery behaviors. We go into a place that is not effective for us. And so avoiding a reality does not change the reality. It actually keeps us stuck and more miserable. So we've gone from this pain that's inevitable to pain plus the avoidance. We're in suffering now. We've made it worse. And the original pain is still there. That's not going anywhere. And we're stuck in it. We're just swimming in that. And I'm sure that this resonates for people, right? We've all felt stuck before. Um, so I want to, Naomi, I see your question. I'm going to answer it in just a second. Thank you. Um, so the goal is to move through the pain without making it worse. That's really what we're trying to do. And for any of you who are therapists, I think you know that goal, right? But again, it's hard. It's hard to guide our clients through that. It's hard to sit with that ourselves when we're in our own pain. It's really difficult. So I have good news. Acceptance, practicing radical acceptance actually is the pathway to change. Acceptance equals change. And while it might not, the change might not come the way that we want it to or the way we would expect it to, it is the only way to get out of our suffering and our misery, out of our stuckness. Change first requires the acceptance of reality. And that can often mean that we're gonna, it leads to sadness, grief, discomfort, and then a calm usually follows. The way out is through. So the question is how or does this apply to terminal illness diagnosis for oneself or loved ones? The pain of someone being terminally ill or, knowing that they're in pain or that they're eventually going to pass is excruciating. And the acceptance of the fact that we're not in control of that is so hard to do. And yet the alternative, which is fighting it, right? And fighting it can look different for different people. Fighting it can be just ruminating on it in your head, how things should be different. Fighting it can be avoiding it through not engaging with that person that you care about, or not taking care of yourself, or just going to sleep, or um, we can go on and on. And actually, we're gonna list some of those misery behaviors, and I want to hear from you what you identify as well. Um, but that avoidance keeps us stuck in the pain of it. If we can get to a willingness to accept the reality of what we're not in control of, and in this case, inevitable death, we can feel the pain of that and the grief and the heaviness, and it may take a long time. Uh, we can move with it to a place of acceptance and calm. So it doesn't change the outcome because we're not in control of that. That's the reality that we're trying to accept. But it changes our relationship to it. It changes the way we experience it. And that is where the calm and peace comes in. Doesn't mean we like it. Thank you for that question. Okay. So, like I said, we have our misery and our avoidance behaviors. Avoiding reality. When we try to escape or deny pain, we're only exacerbating the discomfort of it. Nothing about the issue is changing, and we end up feeling miserable. So, here are some all-star avoidance and misery behaviors, and you're probably familiar with them either personally or, with others in your life, their avoidance behaviors. And I would love to hear from you if you have some also that aren't on this list that resonate for you, or just the ones on this list that feel like, yeah, I see that or I experience that. Big one, abusing substances. It's a way for so many people to numb the pain and to avoid the feelings. And then when they come out of that on the other side, the pain that was there is still there. And then they have the shame or the pain of the consequences of the substances. Similarly, binging or restricting food. This is an attempt to feel in control, to feel like you can control something when there are things that are not in our control. It's a really understandable coping mechanism. And on the other side of it, it doesn't feel effective, it doesn't feel better. Blaming. This is a big one. Hey, we look around and look at all of the reasons why this is happening to offload the discomfort. If I just get angry with this person or blame this person. And that's not to say that there aren't situations or people to blame. There are, but two things can be true, right? Staying in the blame can keep us from feeling the feelings, um, and can keep us stuck. If we can accept what it is, then we can make change. Then we can do something different. Raging, right? This is just this like intense release for people. And again, like really valid, really understandable. And if it works for you, it works. But if on the other side of it, you don't feel better, you feel like you're in the suffering, it's not working, right? And this is where the willingness to practice acceptance comes in. Ruminating. This one always surprises people. People are like, oh, yeah, I guess that does keep me stuck. That's just like a loop that's just a drain that I circle over and over and over again, you know, believing that things should be different or believing that something's my fault or someone else's fault or, focusing on all the ways that the world isn't operating the way I want it to. And on the other side of it, there is no change. Ruminating just keeps us in it. Micromanaging. This is my personal favorite. I'm a micromanager. Ask my partner. When I feel out of control, I go to looking at everyone else, wanting to control them. How do I make you do something to make me feel better? And it doesn't make them feel good, and inevitably, ultimately, it doesn't make me feel good either. It's not effective. And when I can just sit into the thing that I'm struggling to accept, it really helps. The last one is a big one. This is about shoulding, right? The way things should be and shouldn't be. And I want you to think about shoulding as not only is it shaming and keeps us stuck, it's also a land. Should be land is a land that does not exist. It is a fantasy. So the way things should be or shouldn't be are not in reality. It is what it is reality, right? This is the way it is, not the way it should be. This is the way it is. Again, tough one. This is tough, tough stuff to swallow, but there is freedom. Oh, that's definitely yours, Rana, specifically about the state of the world. Tell me about it. Yeah, great example. The state of the world right now, right? How are we supposed to accept things as they are right now? And this is a big, big dialectic, a big yes and, right? If we just stay in the shoulds, the way things should be, and the unfairness of it all, and it is unfair and it is wrong. It is messed up the way the world looks right now on so many levels. Okay. If we stay in our heads about it and we stay in our misery and avoidance around it, nothing changes. But if we can look at it sober and clear-eyed and say, this is what it is, this is happening, then there is a pathway to change. Then I have choices, right? Okay, if this is what it is, then what do I want to do about it? How do I want to respond? How do I want to make my impact? So I have like um micro example, macro example. Well, not macro. One's more personal. But here, let me just give you two different examples of how you can, what practicing this actually looks like. Okay. And let me just see what's next. Okay. Um, so I'm in New York. This used to happen to me all the time. The subway was not coming on time, right? I had checked my phone. It had said it was coming at 9:42. It's 9:45. It's not coming. I am late for a meeting and I'm pissed and it is driving me crazy. And I am starting to fume. I'm starting to get so angry that New York can't get it together with the metro system. And why didn't I leave earlier? I should have left earlier. How did I not know? It shouldn't be this. I shouldn't be this late for this meeting. This is so important, right? And I'm just like working myself into a frenzy. I'm not in acceptance in this moment. If I take a breath and I say, not the way it should have been, or what I should have done, or what's not happening, but what is. Okay, the subway isn't here and I'm running late. Now, what are my choices? I can choose to stay here and wait for the subway to come and accept that I'm going to be late and maybe send a message, step out of the subway where I don't have reception, maybe, and send a message to let people know, okay, I'm going to be late. Or I could choose to actually leave and go run or hop on a bike or catch a cab. When I'm looking at it clearly in acceptance, then I have other options, other choices that I can make. I'm not stuck in the misery and the shoulding of it. I'm going to give one more example, and I'm going to just change the slide so you guys have something new to look at, but I'll teach this in a second. Um, this is a personal example. My a big part of why acceptance resonates for me so much is because my mother was very, very unreliable for a long time in my life. It was extremely painful for me. I could not rely on her to be on time. I could not rely on her to respond, to pick up the phone, to be where she said she was going to be. And I was so angry. I was so angry, and I tried everything to make it different. I tried everything to make her change. And she didn't. She couldn't. She could not change. She wasn't capable of being consistent and reliable. And it took me years and years and years to actually come to a place of accepting it. And when I finally could say to myself, like, I'm not in control of mom. Mom is not capable. Mom has limitations. She's not capable of doing the things that I want her to do, or being in the places that I want her to be, or doing the things that she says she's going to do. That gave me choices. Then I could say, okay, if I know I can't rely on mom, then I can choose to invite her in and also choose not to expect anything from her. And so if she shows up, great. And if she doesn't show up, it's okay because I'm accepting that this is who she is, this is how it is. Right? Or I can choose not to invite her because I need someone reliable. And it depends on the situation, how I would choose to go about it. But when I started to accept that I could not change her, I started to change because I gave myself permission to relate to the thing that was causing me pain differently. And miracle of all miracles, our relationship changed in a profound way after years of me practicing this, after me not getting so angry with her all the time and me saying like, it's okay, you be you. I'm gonna be me. And that'll depend on, the day, what I need and how I'm feeling. And she's actually been able to show up very differently for me in my life in the last 5 years. Never in a million years did I think that was possible to change. And that's not always how it goes. I realize it's a gift and a privilege, but that really did um, evolve in that way because of my choices and the way that I had to accept reality. So I think one of the reasons that I'm seeing some comments and questions come in, and I want to respond to them. I will in just a second. One of the reasons why people struggle with radical acceptance so much is because there are myths around acceptance that get in the way of accepting reality. There are three big ones that people struggle with, and I understand why. Myth number one, if I accept this, it means I don't care. And as someone said earlier, the state of the world, right? If I'm accepting what's going on politically, it means I don't care. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Accepting it means I'm saying this is happening. This is our reality. That's just step number one. Then you have choices in how you want to engage with it. Accepting it means you do care. You are paying attention. You're saying, this is giving me feelings. I need to feel these feelings. I need to feel these feelings in order to know what to do next. I had to feel the profound grief and disappointment that my mom was not reliable. My mom was not the mom I wanted her to be. I had to feel that for a long time in order to let go of the expectations of her. Next, number two, if I accept this, it will never change. And that is a huge fear for so many people. And I understand why. When you care about something this much, you desperately want it to change. And so, of course, you're terrified that it won't. But actually, like we're naming, acceptance is the pathway towards change. This is how change happens. All of the suffering and avoidance and the denial of reality, that does not create change. That keeps us stuck. We have to take that first step, and then change can happen. And number three, this is a big one. If I accept this, I'm a weak person. Right? A lot of people feel like if I accept this, that means I'm weak, I'm defeated, I've failed. Um, um, I'm passive, right? And it is none of those things. Acceptance is brave. Acceptance is so hard. It is one of the hardest things to do, the hardest things to practice. You're a deeply resilient person if you can look at reality as it is and feel everything that comes with it. And so we have here acceptance is not love, passivity, approval, or against change. It is none of those things. It is the pathway to change. You do not have to like something in order to accept it. I remember working with a client once who was in a relationship. They were very unhappy. They had children and they didn't want to be in their relationship anymore, but they didn't want to break up their family. And it was so hard. And we, we came to a place where I said, what are you not accepting? What are we not accepting here? And sometimes we have to get so micro with it. Eventually she was able to name, I'm accepting that I don't like my options. She didn't like the two options that she had in front of her. And that was the first step that she had to take in order to get towards acceptance. It's like, yeah, I don't like either of these options. This doesn't feel good. But that created a path. Okay, let me look at these comments, questions. Okay. Okay, this is from Shelley. Sometimes clients will share that sitting in the emotion, experiencing them does make them feel worse, including after a therapy session or maybe a few days afterwards. Yeah, than it was when they were actively avoiding it. Outside of maybe looking at short term versus long term, the goals of change, anything in particular you suggest? Yeah, this is a great question. I like to get curious about their beliefs around pain, and the discomfort of being in it, because there's also this perceived belief that feeling pain or feeling bad is bad. And I like to remind people that as humans, we are meant to experience the spectrum of emotion. We can't experience great joy without great pain. They come together. And so if we're avoiding pain, if we're avoiding discomfort, we're cutting ourselves off from the other end of the spectrum too. And that may be a little abstract for people to experience, but that does seem to resonate for people sometimes, like, oh, right. Yeah, like if I'm trying to control how I'm feeling, then I'm controlling these feelings too. Like we're not meant to feel good all the time. I don't know who sold us that idea, but it's not true. So, can we challenge the beliefs around pain and that we're not supposed to be feeling it? Like it's information, it's good information. And then from Abby, yes, decisions are portals. When you make the conscious choice to allow the uncontrollable to be, I feel like it butterflies into the rest of your day and how you see everything else. Yes, 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 absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's like this wave of like, oh, there is another reality. There is another path here. I can see it and I can feel it. That is the relief that so many people experience and express um, when they start practicing acceptance. Thank you. Okay. So, so how do we practice it? So here is, I want to just give you a side by side of what willingness, which is the step. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, and they're like, I'm not accepting that. Like, absolutely no way. Where I go next is, well, can we find the willingness to be open to it? Are you willing to consider it? Willingness is the first step. And willingness, if you could see my whole body, you would see my hands resting like this on my lap. Willingness looks like this. It looks like open to receiving. Willfulness looks like this. Mm-mm. I'm stuck. I'm in a glued position. So it's just always helpful to know, and I'm sure you've noticed this in yourself or others, right? When someone is tight and constricted, that is their way of saying, I'm not flexible. I'm not willing in this moment. And that's okay. We're just looking for a little opening. Say, like, okay, can you imagine a space where you might be willing? So, willingness, doing doing what is needed in each situation versus willfulness, a glued position, standing still and refusing to try what works. Willingness, palms open, ready, accepting of any given situation, right? To go back to the subway, New York subway example, when I was like in the, my deep DBT training and I would get into my, not helpful avoidance spiral and I'd take my deep breath to find acceptance, I would just ever so subtly flip my hands open just to say, okay, I'm open. I'm open to this moment. I'm open to receiving a new path and a new information. And that is a way to practice that I'll teach you in just a second. Willfulness, giving up, not trying, getting the fuckets, right? Willingness, trying something new, trying something different. I always try to encourage my clients to, take a different path. Like when you're on your way home, drive a different route or walk a different avenue. Um, if you're always sitting in the same seat or sitting in the same position, try a different seat, try a different position. See how that goes. That creates a willingness in your mind and your body to do things differently. Willfulness, sticking with old, ineffective ways of doing things, right? And ineffective is the key term, right? If it's working, great. If it's not working, it's ineffective. We want to try to create change. We want to be willing to change what's not working. Listening very carefully to your wise mind. This is a DBT term that many of you may be familiar with, but for your IFS folks and others, it's yourself. It's your center. It's your home. Your wise mind is where you know it's your self energy. It's your truth. And it can take a moment to hear that voice, right? So you want to take a deep breath and be willing to see if you can hear it and connect with it. It's acting from your best self. Willfulness is closing your ears, sitting on your hands, not listening. Willingness, allowing into awareness your connection to the universe, which is to say, I'm not alone here. I'm not the only person who has experienced this pain. I'm allowing that to be a truth that I connect to in this moment. And then willfulness is ignoring the wise mind and refusing to tolerate the moment and your connection to others in the universe. Um, and just take one moment, see at the bottom here, when I am willing, when I am willful, just take a moment to name for yourself what it looks like when you're in a willing place and what it looks like when you may be a little more willful. I've been experiencing this quite a bit with my toddler, my 3-year-old. A lot of willfulness. So I've been trying to find my willingness. Where am I willing to let go? Not easy. Okay. Turning the mind. So this is a practice, right? This is one way when we're finding ourselves stuck. It's a visual practice of choosing willingness, choosing acceptance. So think of a fork in the road, turning the mind. It's a choice to take a different path. Instead of denying or resisting the present, we're turning towards it. Okay. So imagine you're at a fork in the road. It says, this is the reality. Are you willing to accept it or are you not willing? Are you willing to accept reality? I want you to try to imagine and try to guide, people in your life, your clients, friends, family, say, can you choose this? Are you willing to turn towards this? Even a lean, not nothing, right? Can we just get a little closer to get to acceptance? What does that look like? Saying it is what it is. This is what's happening. It's a commitment. It's an inner commitment. I'm committing to accepting reality, even though it's hard, even though I don't want to, even though I'm scared. I'm really scared of what it means to accept it. I'm committing to turning towards it. And this is what I meant by we practice this. We don't just practice it one time, it's over and over and over again. We make this choice over and over and over again. A lot of times I know when I'm not in acceptance or when someone I'm working with is not in acceptance because it literally feels like I've been beating my head against a brick wall. I'm like trying to make something different than what it is. I'm trying to change something that is not changing. That is my cue that I'm not in acceptance about something. And so that means that I'm tr working on committing to turning my mind towards acceptance. I'm turning my mind towards a different way of seeing it, a different way of relating to it over and over again. Okay. And then here is our final page of ways to practice radical acceptance and the skills. So, first is coping statements. Right? These are things that we say to ourselves to help us cope with reality. And I would love to hear your coping statements. I had one participant in a DBT group share hers, and I loved it so much. I'll share it with you in a moment. But here are some coping statements that are around, helping us to practice acceptance. Number one, everything is as it should be. This is the one exception for using the word should when it comes to accepting reality. There is no other way that things should be except for this. This is the way things should be. Everything is as it should be. That is accepting reality as it is. And again, that's not you saying, and I like it, and it's good, or and it's never going to change. That's not what it is. That's just everything is as it should be. I really love this one. I've used it probably every day of my life. This too shall pass. This is just acknowledging that the pain that you maybe have been avoiding or are currently feeling is not a forever state. It is something that we are choosing to move through. This helps us move through the reality. Um, I won't stress over the things that I can't change. That's really like an affirmation statement, like when you need a good okay, I can do this. I can do this. I'm choosing not to stress over the things that I can't change. I'm choosing not to stress over the things that are not in my control. Another one, fighting my current emotions and thoughts only gives them more fuel to thrive, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about ruminating, blaming, raging, that sort of circling the drain. It just keeps us stuck. So being able to name that is really helpful. And then I accept this moment as it is. Very simple, very powerful practice. Along those lines, of course, is the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is a very powerful mantra for so many people for a reason. It is asking for help, it is a willingness to receive wisdom for what can change and what cannot change. And then the one that a recent participant shared with me that I absolutely loved was she's like, when I'm really struggling, I just, tell myself, AFOG, another fucking opportunity for growth. So I'll offer that to you as well because it's great. And sometimes using humor really does help in these painful moments. Um, and I'd love to hear yours if you want to share, if you have any, coping statements that really resonate for you. Um, the next skill to practice is willing hands, which I sort of introduced to you already, right? Your fingertips have so many nerve endings. When you open them up, and show, okay, I'm willing to receive in this moment. And you don't have to do it like a performance. You can just, wherever you are, you're at a dinner or a meeting and you're not feeling it, and you're in your head and you want to try to just accept the moment as it is. You just turn your palms upward and notice what it's like to say, I'm receiving this moment. I'm willing to be present in this moment. So you just open those hands, rest them, and understand that you are gesturing the willingness to let go. Maeve said, one that I learned from my yoga teacher that helps me is I can either suffer or I can enjoy. Exactly. I like that. Yeah, we have choices. We have choices. Can I choose joy? If joy feels like too much of a stretch, and for some, I understand it is, can I at least just choose like, okay, I'm here now. This is it. Thank you, Maeve. The other practice that I love is called Buddha half smile. And the way I learned this from Marcia was she was like, I don't want you to like go into a situation that you don't want to be in or interact with someone that you don't particularly like and put on like a big fake like cheesy smile. But again, your mouth and your face have so many nerve endings. The practice of just ever so subtly, like not even noticeable for anyone else but you, lifting the outer corners of your mouth, that communicates, that's a signal directly to your brain saying, okay, I can tolerate this moment. I'm willing to tolerate this moment because I'm willing to give a tiny little smile that's just for me. Great. And then the last, and maybe, one of the more powerful skills, ask yourself, what am I not accepting? What am I not accepting in this moment? And it may be I'm not accepting my chronic back pain, but this is here. Or I'm not accepting that my partner is disappointing. Or I'm not accepting that I hate our president. I'm not accepting the injustices of the world. I'm struggling in this moment to accept these things. And just being able to name that is a path towards willingness. It's a path towards acceptance. So I think because I didn't have so much group interaction, because I have you all on mute and your videos off, we have a little bit of time. I ended a little early. If anyone has any questions or any feedback, I'm so happy to answer questions. But this is the last slide. This is the last page of radical acceptance skills. And I cannot stress, well, first of all, I cannot thank you enough for coming today. And also, I cannot stress enough how difficult these skills are to practice and how important it is to remain in grace and humility with it all. Give yourself a lot of compassion as you're working towards practicing and facing these very difficult concepts. Um, but there is liberation and relief on the other side, and it's a real gift. So, um, thank you all. I'll stay on here just for any questions or anything that people want to add. And I think you
Um,
can,
I have a question.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Reina. Um, my question is, sometimes I see that in my clients, but I also see it in myself, especially when we are trying to like the willingness, when the willfulness is still fighting us, I guess.
Mhm.
And either like paralysis analysis takes in like a lot of it is like for the blaming part or the should have part, right? A lot of us are high functioning in the sense of like problem solving immediately. Like that's our like, okay, since I can't change it, let me problem solve it quickly. So and then what I've seen for me and my clients, it's like either we jump into analysis paralysis because of the so many portals,
Hmm.
or we go into a decision and then kind of get buyer's remorse in a
Mm,
way. So, and it's like it feels like a jump, but I know it's a jump, but it doesn't feel like it because we're trying to, accept and change. Like, because I don't know. I guess, like you said, the myths are that we can make a change, and that's where we're like following. Sorry, the myths are not. Sorry, the myths aren't that we can't change. So we jump into, okay, I'm accepting. So what can I change about it in a way?
right.
Am I making sense? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does make sense. I think what I'm hearing is the step of actually naming the pain and letting it be there and feeling it is kind of getting skipped. And I hear why, right? Because the belief is no, if I let this pain be here, it'll always be here. It'll never change. But that's not a fact. We don't know that, and we're never going to know what's possible if we don't let it be here now so that we can see what else is possible. And I think when I hear you say analysis paralysis, it sounds like the rumination,
Yeah,
right?
it like jumps from it should be like this, like ruminating on this situation, and then
Yep.
it should be like this, so I'm going to do something about it. But
Yeah,
when the
right.
ruminating happens, that's when the analysis paralysis starts. It's like, okay, so what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do, like, I need to do this before that? Like,
Yeah. Listen, I the radical acceptance is the last step, right? So I do believe in exhausting all of the change problem solving possibilities. It's when we've done it all, and like I said, I'm like hitting my head against a brick wall and I'm like, why isn't this changing? That's when we want to come to acceptance. And if that's when we're going into rumination and analysis about what it should be, I think what I do with my clients is, and I, do this with myself too. If you are noticing should language, that's where I say, what do you really mean? Like they shouldn't have done this or this shouldn't be happening. I say, like, let's remove the word should and find another word here. What do you really mean? And a lot of times it comes down to, I don't like this. This makes me upset. I feel scared. And then we're in the feelings. And then can we slowly be in the feelings and sit with it and face that? I think that that may be a way in for you is challenging the should and getting really clear about what it is we're avoiding when we're using the word should. Does that?
yeah, no, that makes sense because as you were talking in your presentation, I was like, I guess it might be fear that we're all, because it's so primal, and so like the sadness part I accept actually, and I think even my clients accept, but it's the unknown because of
Yeah,
I guess that's the part.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm seeing your point. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah, there's so much fear in the unknown. There's so much fear in what we're not in control of. Right? Relinquishing control, it's dialectical, right? It's liberating. You're like, oh, I'm not in control of this. And it's terrifying. I'm not in control of this. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's on the other side. It's both. And we have to validate that. That's a really understandable fear and there are unknowns. But the way it is now, the misery isn't working. That we do know. That's where we're trying to create change. Other
Hi.
questions,
Oh,
comments?
I have a
Okay.
question if that's okay.
Sure.
So my name is Maeve. I'm kind of like a baby therapist. I just started my internship, and I'm
Good
still in
for
grad
you.
school, so I'm very much in the rapport building phase with all of my clients.
Mm.
Um, but I guess my question is, what would be some signs that would let you know that a client might be more in a place of willingness or ready to receive an intervention that could
Mhm.
lead to radical acceptance?
Hmm. Yeah. I love this question. I think because so many of us are often in avoidance, and it can look like people coming in and blaming and in their sort of maybe it's substance abuse, maybe it's overworking, right? That's one of the misery behaviors, like overscheduling yourself, overworking, becoming perfectionistic. Um, when someone can really come in and be in like the thick of their discomfort, grief, sadness, disappointment, fear, that's a pretty good indicator that they're willing to or closer to, acceptance of what is, that they're no longer trying to push away the feelings, that that's not working anymore. So the feelings are they're here. And then we can look at, okay, feelings are here. Your feelings make sense. Now let's see what our options are, what we can change, what we can't. Um, it seems like we haven't been able to change this, that, or the other. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna, as your therapist, I'm gonna be with you in this comfort. I think that's something that we as therapists maybe sometimes can skip over too, because it's hard. That willingness for us to be in the pain with our clients, no matter how long it takes, that's a muscle that we can work on building too. Did that answer your question, Maeve?
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, good. Anyone else? It's so weird for me to not see faces, but I can see your little icons, not nothing. You can put things in the chat too if that's helpful.
Hi, my name is Sam. I like to ask you a questions about maybe something related to the chronic pain. I have a
Mm,
client that who has very severe symptom of migraine and wanted to. I recently started therapy with him, but I trying to figure out what would be the maybe the easiest way for him to reduce some of the anxiety like
yeah,
creating around the chronic pain that the condition that he has it. And it seems like the radical acceptance like could be the one of the good intervention for him. But I was wondering that I have to work on and then introducing the idea about the radical acceptance, like what could be the next step or what could be the next intervention that I could work on, like after work on the radical acceptance part or while I am working
yeah,
radical acceptance part.
yeah. I mean, first of all, I just want to say I know how hard this is. I have a client too with chronic migraines, and honestly, we're in an in-between phase where we're still trying to figure out if there are more actual medical interventions that can help her. Thank you, Sharon. It is just so hard to witness, and I think the thing that's helpful to name for clients is the story that they may go into when the pain starts. We'll just say any chronic pain, right? So, oh God, it's coming back again, or I'm in it again. And the narrative that often comes is I'm always going to be in this pain. This is my fault. There's something I'm not doing. Um, it's only going to get worse, right? There are certain beliefs that I think it's important to try to name and understand that we can try to help challenge, to try to just help them be in the present, which is I'm just allowing myself to experience this pain and it hurts so much and I don't want to be in it, but I'm not going into a story or a deeper, bigger belief about what it means or what it is. I would say that's the practice for someone to keep coming back to when they're in it. And then when they're not in it, if there are still, things that they can try to do to mitigate it and keep them from coming, I do recommend still trying to figure out how to do that. Um, it's a really tough one. Does that does that feel helpful? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, guys, it is time for us to close. Thanks, Sayun. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for being here. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, Shelley,
Thank
via
you.
email. Yeah, really great to have you. And yep, hope you join the next one, whatever it may be.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.